Good morning. Welcome to another One Mind meditation. We don't have a single teacher for this week. This week I'm using work from several people, and today it happens to be Mark Epstein. Mark Epstein's work I often reach for. He speaks about what happens inside of us in such a beautiful way. And he wrote a book called, I'm trying to find the name here again, The Trauma of Everyday Life. The Trauma of Everyday Life is a book that unpacks the fact that trauma is a part of our human existence. And we can think of it in certain examples. Good morning, somebody. In like the extreme examples of extreme trauma. But that's not the only thing that we, especially as kids, experience as upsetting, scary, and the kind of fears that in childhood we pick up that stay with us. All of those our bodies and our minds react to in a very long-term way. I love the title of his book, The Trauma of Everyday Life, trying to normalize the fact that as humans we experience things that feel to us scary, that feel to us like loss, and it creates things within us, and we can do better when we learn how to deal with these things inside of us, having acceptance for the things that happen inside of us. Anthony, good evening to you. It's good to see you. Right, so let's get into a couple of words from Mark Epstein. The first one says, "The freedom that the Buddha envisioned does not come from jettisoning imprisoning thoughts and feelings or from abandoning the suffering self. It comes from learning how to hold it all differently, juggling them rather than cleaving to their ultimate realities." So let's unpack this just a little bit. He says the Buddha gave us an idea of a certain kind of freedom we can have. Hey Vivian, good morning. A certain kind of freedom we can attain. And he says that freedom does not come from us trying to get rid of our negative thoughts, our negative thinking. Hey Charlene, good morning. We don't get to that place of freedom, that place of being free, because we've abandoned the suffering self. There's a part of us that might feel pain, that might feel like it's suffering. And we don't get to that place of freedom because we kind of left the suffering self behind and pushed it away. Rather, we get to that place of freedom when we learn how to hold all of this that's happening, how to hold it differently. Hey Karabo, good morning, it's good to see you. And then the second thought is the willingness to face traumas, be they large, small, primitive, or fresh, is the key to healing from them. They may never disappear in the way that we think they should, but maybe they don't need to. Trauma is an ineradicable aspect of life. We are human as a result of it, not in spite of it. So the things that have come up for us that we kind of struggle to deal with or have historically struggled dealing with, these things, thoughts, narratives, whatever they may be, they might not go completely away in the way we think they should, we'd like them to, we expect them to. They might always be a part of us in some way, shape, or form. He says perhaps they don't need to. Perhaps they don't need to completely disappear. It's not as if having traumas is an abnormal thing of being human. That's what his book, The Trauma of Everyday Life, tries to say. That in certain ways we all have these, and we'll have the voices of it forever. It is an ineradicable aspect of life. We are human as a result of our traumas, not in spite of them. I think it's a really beautiful sentence. There's so much of what we think shouldn't happen or we should overcome that maybe we can just find a way to sit with it in a different way, to hold it in a different and a new way. Leshna, very good morning. It's good to see you. All right, if you're all ready, our meditation today is called A Sense of Self. Let's invite these inner children, these parts of us that speak in the ways that they speak. I'll use the usual examples, and please remember you can use your own examples, whatever comes up for you. We'll use sadness, anger, and fear, just because they're so general. And can you imagine these parts of you and the way they speak in sadness, the way they speak in anger, the way they speak in fear? Imagine them as kids that you can call to you. Come and sit at my feet. Come and sit and listen. If you're ready, let's do this journey together. You can close your eyes and let's float away, starting with the first few big breaths. Let's take a deep breath in and out. Take a deep breath in and out. A deep inhale and let it go. Deep breath in and out. One more big breath in and let it all flow away. You can continue the same breathing pattern on your own time. Every slow inhale through your nose gets drawn all the way deep down into your belly. And as you fill up your belly with air, also raise yourself up. Make yourself a little bit taller with every inhale. Once you've reached your full height, let all of it go. As you breathe out, soften your spine. Slump down your shoulders and drop your head. invite these aspects of you, these parts of you. Our example, our sadness, anger, fear. And you can use your own. There might be shame, guilt, jealousy. Whatever your current examples are, whatever you're currently working with and dealing with, invite them as children to sit at your feet. And it's okay if you don't have a clear idea of these parts. It's okay if you don't have a clear picture of them necessarily. And it's okay if the way they look to you are not like children. That's okay too. But invite them closer. Ask them to come and sit at your feet. And invite them to breathe along with you. Could you imagine seeing sadness, anger, and fear? Take deep breaths right along with you. I want to remind you of what we heard from Mark Epstein this morning. We don't get to a place of freedom by pushing these parts of us away. We become free when these parts are not controlling us anymore. And to get to a place where our inner narratives are not in control, we have to have a new relationship with them. The relationship of pushing them away has not worked, but a relationship of being able to hold this while not being controlled by this is freedom. We'll take the last few big breaths of this phase together, helping our bodies stretch, adjust, and settle down into the next part of the meditation. Let's take a deep breath in. As you release, drop your head all the way forward. And roll out your neck muscles in big half circles to the left and also to the right. Take a deep breath in. As you release, roll your shoulders forward in big, slow circles. Take a deep breath in. As you release, roll your shoulders backwards in big circles, nice and slow. Take a deep breath in. As you release, focus on your spine. Drop your left ear closer to your left hip. Gently lean into your back muscles that way. And then drop your right ear closer to your right hip. Gently lean into your back muscles that way. One more big breath in. And as you release, you can stretch or move or adjust any part of your body that still needs a bit of help settling down. Having softened into presence as much as we can, we'll turn our attention inwards and dive deep inside for the next part of our journey. With every next inhale, we'll hold our breath for a few short moments, followed by a long, slow exhale. Let's take a deep breath in. And hold. As you release, make it a really long, really slow exhale. Take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, feel into your body and invite softness into every cell of your body. Take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, follow the downwards flow. Feel your shoulders slowly falling. Feel your body slowly softening. Feel how you are slowly slipping deeper into you. One more big breath in. And hold. And as you release, feel yourself melting. Feel your whole body dissolving. Feel how you are slipping into a deeper level of surrender with every slow exhale. You can continue the same breathing pattern on your own time. Every slow inhale through your nose is an invitation. It invites you to turn inwards and follow this journey. As you breathe in, feel the air flow in through your nostrils. Feel the air touch the back of your throat. Stay with your breath as it flows in through your lungs. And as you fill up the balloon inside your belly, feel yourself slip all the way in. Hold your breath only for as long as it feels really easy. Follow it with a really long, really slow exhale. With your next big breath as you dive deep into you, remind yourself of these inner children, these parts of you that you've invited to sit at your feet. Our examples today are sadness, anger, and fear. And you may use whichever examples you're currently dealing with. Take your next big breath. We'll first invite the part of you that sometimes feels sad. We'll invite this part of you to speak. And the way we'll do this is just a reminder of when you do feel sad. What comes up in you? What are the thoughts you think when you feel sad? What are the words that come up within you when you feel sad? We're allowing sadness to speak in a way that you can take a step back and listen. When sadness is what you feel, what are the words that come up for you? Take your next big breath. With this reminder of how this part of you speaks, see if you can form some kind of a picture of what sadness looks like. And then while you take a look at sadness, I want you to ask sadness a question. We don't need to get an answer to this question, but often we do. And it helps to understand. With your next big breath, you dive deep into you. Please ask sadness this question. What is it that you are afraid will happen? What is it that you are afraid will happen? Take your next big breath. Thank you, sadness, for having the courage to show up and to speak. We'll turn our attention to anger and invite anger to speak as well. We are here, we are listening, and we want to understand. See if you're able to get some kind of a picture of what anger looks like for you. And with your next big breath, as you dive deep into you, allow anger to speak. Ask anger to speak. When this part of you feels angry, how does it speak? What are the words you use when anger is what you feel? Whether there are words you speak out loud or just words inside, an inside narrative that speaks to you. We're here to listen. Take your next big breath. And while you've been reminded of how anger speaks in you, and while you perhaps have a picture of what anger looks like, I'd love you to ask anger a question. We don't need to get an answer, but we often do. We would just like to understand. As you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, ask anger this question. What is it that you want for us? What is it that you're trying to prevent? Take your next big breath. Thank you, anger, for having the courage to show up and speak. We'll shift our attention to fear. See if you're able to get any kind of an idea of what fear looks like when it speaks in you. And with your next big breath, as you dive deep into you, remind yourself, what are the words that fear uses when it speaks in you? Take your next big breath. like you to be able to ask fear a question. Now that you've been reminded how fear speaks in you, what the narrative of fear is, and perhaps you have somewhat of a picture of what fear looks like as it speaks in you, take a look at fear and ask it this question. What is it that you're afraid will happen? What is it you're trying to avoid? Take your next big breath. Thank you, fear, for being brave enough to speak up and share. It takes courage to speak. We'll take the last few big breaths of this phase together, and again, you can invite these inner children to sit and breathe right along with you. Let's take a deep breath in. And hold. As you release, make it a really long, really slow exhale. Take a deep breath in. And hold. As you release, invite softness into every part of your body. One more big breath in. And hold. And as you release, feel yourself slip all the way through. There's no more attention on your breathing. You can sit all the way back or lie all the way back down and feel yourself just floating. I want to remind you again of Mark Epstein's words. The freedom the Buddha envisioned does not come from getting rid of imprisoning thoughts, getting rid of imprisoning feelings, or from abandoning the parts of us that are suffering. It comes from learning how to hold it all differently, juggling them rather than clinging to their ultimate realities. How do we hold these things in a different way? Does it help to understand why sadness feels the way she does, what she's afraid will happen. Does it help to understand why anger speaks the way it does? Does it help to understand what anger is trying to prevent? The same for fear, guilt, shame, jealousy, or whatever else we might experience. Each part of us is doing its best to help us survive. And while it might not be helpful right now, these inner narratives were born from a time where what they were trying to do was helpful to that moment. It was a way of trying to cope. It was a way of trying to survive. Every coping mechanism is that. It might have such a negative connotation, a coping mechanism, but it is born only of the need to feel like I can cope and deal with stuff. The most important part of this is, as you take a step back, as you're able to look at and listen to sadness, look at and listen to anger or fear or jealousy or guilt or shame, who are you being while you're able to look at and listen to these inner children speaking? Who are you being while you're able to hold all of this without being controlled by any of this? Now, this is the point. This part of you, the part of you that is the observer, the part of you that can hold all of this, never acts from sadness, anger, fear, shame, or guilt. The more we are able to hold those, the more we are being the higher self, the soul, that are not controlled by any of those. The more you're able to have acceptance for all the very real human parts of you, the more you are being the best version of you. Keep practicing, and everything you practice you'll become better at. And you'll find yourself acting from this place of soul, of love, this place that is immovable. You'll find yourself acting from this place more and more. We have the last 5 breaths of gratitude to do together. With every exhale, I'll say my thank you, and I invite you to say yours. Let's take a deep breath in. Thank you for this journey. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for learning that these parts of me, these inner narratives that might have at some times overwhelmed me, are not who I really am. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for learning that our life experiences, our encountering fear, create different parts of us, different narratives to try to deal with all of these fears. And that this is just all in a normal human experience. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for no longer resisting, fighting with, being at war with any parts of me. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for finding and having found a new way to hold all of these different aspects of my humanity. One more big breath in. Thank you, beautiful people. Thank you for your own journey, your own work, your own coming face to face with the things that just make you a human being. I want to read to you again the name of Mark Epstein's book. It's called The Trauma of Everyday Life. I'll mention again, it tries to look at trauma in this very normalized way that says we are not human we're not human in spite of our traumas, but we're human as a result of our traumas. Dealing with different kinds of trauma is a given. Different kinds of pain, hurt, disappointments, whatever it may be. It is part and parcel what it is to be a human being. There's nothing wrong with anyone who feels a certain amount of trauma in their lives. Lots of love to each and every one of you. Thanks Leshna and Anthony and Vivian, Karabo, Charlene, whoever else I might be missing in the background. Lots of love to you all. Have a great day. Ciao, ciao.